Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Lathering Lotus, and I wanted to talk about the landscape soap that I did for the January Soap Club Challenge. I had made a landscape soap before and I was happy with it, but I did learn a few things from making that soap. And one of them was the importance of making sure that you had contrasting colors in your design so it would be prominent in the final soap. I was going to show you my first attempt and just pick out some finer nuances that I thought I could improve upon in the final soap. And there wasn't anything wrong with the first attempt. I liked it, but everybody at the soap club has inspired me to just kick it up a notch. And hopefully I was able to do it with this soap. I'm not sure what I'm going to name it yet. So it has a cherry blossom theme. My inspiration picture came from Mount Fuji, so maybe it'll end up being named that. So I'll think on that. Also, if you are a soaper and you make videos at home, please leave some comments below as to what equipment you found has worked best for you. So what kind of camera do you use? Did you purchase any special lighting? Any tips or tricks would be really helpful for me and for anyone else who is reading the comments. So I would appreciate that because my videography skills are a bit lacking. So thanks for watching, and I'm gonna get started and show you my soaps. This was my first landscape soap, and I learned a few things, like I said. First of all, I did this by soap sculpting, so I actually drew out the picture on some graph paper, transferred it to a stiff cardboard type paper, and used that when the soap's set up to sculpt it. Obviously there's one embed here. There's no other embeds, the rest was sculpting. Couple tips. First of all, if you're doing soap shaping or sculpting, wait until the soap has lost its shiny appearance before you try to shape the soap. That helps a lot. Secondly, I found that you need to have some contrast between the colors. As you can see here, this tree is hard to differentiate from the sky. So if this was a bit darker, that may have helped. If this was a bit lighter. And again, I think probably the sky, if it was a bit lighter, it would have helped, especially with this darker mountain. So this was just an overall fun soap, and it was called Smoky Mountain. This was my first attempt to do the landscape soap for the January Soap Club Challenge. I like the soap. I had fun with it. It had a lot of different techniques in it. A few things that I wanted to improve upon were to, first of all, you can see my house here has fallen apart a bit. There's some gaps. This was 6 embeds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I had already used a tool to remove some soap for the windows, so that goes the whole way through the soap. And the soap was a bit hard, so these didn't stick together. I'll tell you how I fixed that on my second attempt. And I think for the grass, I wanted to have a little bit more variation in the color. I was happy with the Japanese flower blossoms, but with the mountain, again, I wanted to have more color variation. And for the tip of the mountain, the snow that I put there was not, aka soap snow, was not prominent. So I wanted to scoop that out a little bit more and let it sit up before I put soap on it. I did like how the gradient turned out of the sky. This was, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 layer pour. I did not like, however, the oxides clumped a bit, even though I took a spatula and tried to smooth those out. So that happens with ultramarines. And then, of course, there's the sun embed. There wasn't anything special on top, so I wanted to add something special for the next soap. And this was one of the final soaps. So you can see that the house stuck together this time. I did that by attaching each portion of the house with cocoa butter. And also the tree trunks were a little bit more rounded in this one, which I thought had greater design appeal. A little bit more variation in the green. There's some other hues there. Same with the Japanese flower blossoms. The sky had a bit more prominent variation in it. And then I did pipe You can't see too many of them on that one. Some, what I hoped were cherry blossoms on top of the soap. I am not the best at piping soap. Frosting is so much easier. So just to compare and contrast them from the first attempt to the second attempt, if you're not a soaper, you may not notice the difference. I like them both. I really do like the final soap though. And they are fragranced with a combination of Japanese flower blossom from Nature's Candles and Pinkberry Mimosa from Wholesale Supply. So I only use the Japanese flower blossom in the original soap, and it's a great smelling fragrance. It behaves nicely, but it's very, very light. So I added some Pinkberry Mimosa to the final product. So, all right, so then the next part of the video is going to be me making the soaps. And I would say the hardest part of the soaps were the embeds. They were really, really frustrating. These ones were super soft and it was hard to work with. So I actually did the windows at the end of the process this time. I waited until they were sliced. So this has about 9 embeds. I think 4 if you include this as one. Has an in the pot swirl. This was a modified drop swirl, in the pot swirl, a little bit of soap sculpting, and I'm not sure this is a gradient pour. Also, it was pointy soap layers. That was also a technique that was taught in the Soap Challenge Club by Tree Marie Soapworks. And then the soap piping and the embellishments on top were the final elements, and I'm not sure how many final elements those are, but I think it definitely fits for the advanced category. Okay, moving on. top of this soap got a bit ashy. The problem with planing it off is that I have these embeds on the other side, so I can't really plane it off. What I'm going to do is scrape it off with a small paring knife. I'm going to then spray it with distilled water, let that sit, and then spray it with isopropyl alcohol, and that will probably take care of it. But yeah, so we'll see. This will come off. It's just a little bit time consuming to do it this way. I could try to plane it off with my planer, but then I just think there will be, it wouldn't be even between the embed and the rest of the soap. So I'm going to try it this way. And you can see the design underneath. So I think that'll be all right.